Hello, everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now, let's go. Hello, I want to tell you a story that a close friend told me. He told me this story after years of our friendship. It is not for nothing that they say that all happy families are similar, and unhappy families are unhappy in their own way. So here is a rather ordinary story of betrayal of a loved one. I will try to explain it as he told it to me. For convenience, I'll do it in the first person. It's hard to call the beginning of my life a good one. My parents got married early enough. My mother was 19 years old and my father was 21 years old. They loved each other very much, and 9 months after the modest wedding, I was born. But after a while, my mother realized that she did not like living in poverty, and marrying my father was a fatal mistake. She found herself a rich lover and left my father without hesitation. My father grieved a little and soon found a new girlfriend too. It was clear that his 3-year-old son was preventing him from building a new life. My mother's new man didn't really want to raise someone else's child either. My mother did not hesitate to send me to an orphanage. She just took me to the shelter and filled out the paperwork that she was giving up her child. After that, she disappeared from my life forever. That's how I stayed in the orphanage. I was an orphan with living parents. I'm not going to talk about my life at the orphanage. There were a lot of good and bad things. With grief in half, I lived to graduate. After graduating from the orphanage school, I did not know where to go and decided to join the Army. I served for 2 years and entered a military school. 4 years later, I graduated from military school and became a lieutenant. I started my service and served for 5 years. I've been to various hot spots, but later I was wounded. I was admitted to the hospital and somehow survived. After that, I turned out to be unfit for further service. I started my civilian life. I was paid an allowance and even awarded a medal for bravery. My civilian specialty is engineer mechanic. A month later, I got a job at the factory as a turner. A year later, I was promoted to the head of the shop. I was doing well, and 2 years later, I became deputy director. My career was very fast, but I really worked day and night. I knew it was time for me to start my own family. To begin with, it was necessary to get married. I met a very beautiful girl. I took care of her for 6 months. Everything was standard. We went to the cinema, restaurants, bars. I also gave her flowers and gifts. I realized that I love her more than life. From the moment we met, I did not hide that I lived in an orphanage, because as you know, is a wary attitude towards people from the orphanage, because we are people without family and tribe. But by the time I was 32, I was already a deputy director and held a solid position. When I made a marriage proposal, my girlfriend agreed immediately. And so my family life began. My wife and I lived soul to soul. She was 4 years younger than me and worked in a beauty salon. We had enough money for everything we wanted, but one thing was bad: we couldn't conceive a child. We very often went to the doctors for an examination. How many times have we gone to the doctors? This is simply beyond words, but the answer was the same everywhere. You both have everything in order with your health. You need to try harder and the children will appear soon. We lived in my office apartment. We had good conditions, no worse than other people. A year later, my wife's behavior began to change. She began to take care of herself carefully. She changed hairstyle and updated wardrobe. She even got a new ring and underwear. She did her makeup for work every day as if she was going to a holiday. I asked, "Who is this makeup for?" She replied that I shouldn't look bad. "Are you jealous?" But it wasn't jealous, but because she didn't give me any reason. But all her metamorphoses looked very suspicious. It seems from the outside that everything is clear and she has a lover. But in real life, you believe your loved one to the last and you don't want to notice the obvious. That's why I pushed away bad thoughts from myself. And after a while, my wife began to stay late at work. She motivated this by the fact that either an urgent order or a blockage at work. She always came home very late. She spent a lot of time in the bathroom. Her mood changed every hour. She was either affectionate like a cat or attacking me like a snake. She really started making more money. But my army instinct told me that something was wrong here. I wanted to see from the outside what my wife does every day when she stays late. But then one case intervened. I was going on a business trip for a month. My partner's production line broke down and only my team and I could fix this problem. When I was packing my things, my wife even shed a tear. She was sad to be separated for a whole month. I was very moved myself and promised to call her every day and not stay long. As a result, I kissed her, hugged her tightly, and left for the airport. As soon as I checked in for the flight, I warned my wife. I was about to go to the boarding terminal, but the director called me and said that they had managed without us and the conveyor was working. I was allowed to go home. I tried several times to call my wife and make her happy, but my wife's phone was disconnected. I took flowers, champagne, called a taxi, and drove home. I decided to spend a romantic evening with my wife. The reason was the return of her beloved husband. I ran to the 4th floor in a very happy mood and opened the front door with my key. I purposely didn't knock or ring the doorbell because I wanted to make a surprise. The only light in the apartment was on in the bedroom. I thought my wife was reading a book. I went to the bedroom door and carefully opened the door. I was stunned by what I saw. My wife was completely naked and kneeling in front of some man. The man was sitting rolling his eyes in an armchair. They were both so engrossed that they didn't notice anything around them. I stood for a while as if in a stupor, silently watching the process. Then I coughed politely. My wife screamed in fright, got up from her knees and ran behind the curtain covering her naked body. The lover, unlike my wife, has not yet been scared. He started attacking me and shouting, "Who are you? Get out of here." He swung at me and shouted, "That's my girlfriend! That bastard!" I stepped to the right, dodging his blow. Then I hit him on the head with a bottle of champagne. The bottle burst and splinters mixed with foam scattered around the room. The man collapsed on the floor in front of me. Then I realized that I could have killed him. My wife started to say something but fell silent under my gaze. Stepping over the man's motionless body, I went to the kitchen and drank 2 glasses of water in 1 gulp. For some reason, I was very thirsty. I heard some sounds in the bedroom. Then I heard the front door slam. It must have been her lover. 10 minutes later, my wife came into the kitchen. She started to say something unintelligible. Perhaps she wanted to explain something to me and whined piteously like a dog asking for forgiveness. She started singing to me an old female song about lack of attention and so on. She was talking such nonsense that she even said that she had changed out a strong love for me. According to her, the more a girl loves a man, the more often she cheats on him. She said that if I forgive her, she will give birth to my children and we will live happily as a friendly family. I listened to this nonsense in silence and wanted only one thing for her to disappear from my life as soon as possible. We divorced without any problems because we had no property claims and no children. The divorce stamp appeared in my passport and I became single again. But I wasn't happy about what happened. After the divorce, my wife did not give up trying to come back to me. She even came to my office and cried loudly, telling my colleagues how much she loves me. She said that I was punishing her a lot for an ill-considered prank. My wife's lover turned out to be the director of the grocery market. There were attempts on his part to take revenge on me, but I made it clear to him that he had attacked the wrong person. I promised to cut off his manhood. I was so convincing that he believed me and no longer sought romantic mating with me. I do not know how my wife's personal life developed further. I wasn't interested at all. I came to the conclusion that I need to change my life. I quit the factory and went to live in another country. My past is behind me. If you like the story, give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. By tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. After listening to your story, I realize that you had a difficult childhood and you were unlucky with your wife. It's very sad, but you must not be discouraged. You only need to move forward. Your wife will regret her actions for a long time. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.